Well, hello and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Dwayne Butcher of Lean Frontiers, and I'll be serving as your host for our short session today. Our facilitator is Oscar Roche, who has a manufacturing background, having worked in operations management with diverse organizations, really inside and outside of Australia. So this is truly a global affair today, as Oscar is in Australia. Myself, I'm in the United States, and I know the majority of our participants in today's webinar are located in and around Europe. So I think we have the globe cornered, Oscar. Oscar has been a TWI Institute instructor for several years and is really on the leading edge of today's topic, this topic of the intersection of TWI and Kata practice routines. Due to the short duration of our session today, we may or may not have time for questions. If you have questions, feel free to submit them using the GoToWebinar toolbar on your screen. And if we have time, we will field those. If we do not have time, we'll make his contact information available, and you can certainly communicate with Oscar directly through that. Also, a side note, we are recording this session, so if you would like to share this with others in your organization, certainly feel free to do that. So for now, though, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Oscar. Oscar, it's all yours.
Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to deliver this. As you said, all over the world, it's quite unique to be sitting here at 9 o'clock at night in Australia, in a small country town, which is where we're based, and thinking this is going to all corners of the globe. So the mind is a pattern-seeking mechanism. In 2007, Dr. Gwen Galsworth said that to me, and it had some impact, but not a lot. But as time has gone on, and I've got a little older and a little more experienced, I've seen this time and time and time again, both in child development and in adult development, and building of capability. And what we're going to discuss today, or this evening, today for most of you, is no exception to that. There are 4 patterns that provide tremendous value that you can get yourselves or through your leaders in an organisation that we're going to discuss. These 4 patterns all have the same base pattern, meaning they're easier to embed. There's one overarching one, but all are interlinked. So let's just have a look at these 4 patterns or 4 human behaviours of high value in the workplace that we're going to discuss. The first one is results through people. The first one is results through people. The second one is the pattern or the behaviour of instructing. In particular, instructing in standard work in order to create standardized work. The third behavior is that of Kaizen, short or rapid incremental improvement. And the fourth human behavior, again I underline that word behavior, is the behaviors required, the pattern required for moving forward. And I think we can safely say that if we are moving forward, we are improving. So it's really the pattern of improving. Each of these patterns are developed via katas, can be developed by katas. There's a kata for developing each of these patterns. You'll be familiar, I obviously don't know any of your backgrounds in terms of TWI or in terms of the improvement kata. So I'm going to make some assumptions that you do know some, you have some experience in TWI. But before we get into some detail there, let's just confirm what a kata is. We've got this example here, probably the best known example whenever katas are discussed these days, and that's from the movie Karate Kid and the kata of wax on, wax off. So what is a kata? A kata is a pattern of doing. It's a pattern of doing. It's a pattern of doing that develops a habit. It's a pattern of doing that develops a habit. Now, of course, as all of you know who have children and even dealing with adults, we not only have good habits, we can have bad habits, but they all develop through patterns of doing. So let's determine just quickly or define what a habit is. So a habit is an acquired behavior. An acquired behavior that has become normal. An acquired behavior that has become normal. So a kata is a pattern of doing that develops a habit. A habit is an acquired behavior that has become normal. So what we want to do, these 4 patterns here, we want to develop them into behavior that has become normal through the use of kata patterns. In all 4 cases that we've got circled up the top there, we need to realize that the katas we're developing here are patterns of the mind. They're not physical patterns. In Karate Kid, down the bottom left there, that we were talking about a physical pattern of the hand movement. In this, we're talking about a patterns of the mind, patterns of thinking. The first one, the way you get results through people is TWI job relations. Just quickly, for those, hopefully most of you have had some exposure, done some training, the principle of job relations. We have a leader, we have results, we have people in the middle of those results, we have a JR line that goes both ways between the leader and their people. Keep that JR line short and straight. Oops, sorry, I've misspelled people there. Pardon the Australian. Keep that line short and straight, and our results are far likely to be better than if it's long and wobbly and shaky. We do that through the application of job relations. The principle of job relations, really covered, I guess, in the card there, but I'll just draw it over here. We have our objective, which really sits around the whole of JR, the whole of the 4-step method. Then in step 1, we get some facts. Step 2, we decide. Step 3, we do. And step 4, we check. Covered off over there. When we're driving change and when we're moving forward through change, as we do with the improvement kata, I guess where we have used JR a lot is in sizing up situations. In other words, understanding that a change is coming and using JR to size up our potential wobble of this line over here and that JR line and what we can do about it. When we do that, what we tend to find, we set our objective in terms of implementing the change, and when we're doing our weighing and deciding with sizing up this problem, we tend to find that our solutions, our potential actions, are driven by the foundations above. Our potential actions are driven by these foundations. So I see a lot of and practice a lot of proactive use of JR, what I call proactive use, sizing up, where my objective is associated with the driving of the change. And when we're considering doing that, we should be, of course, telling people in advance about a change that will affect them and telling them why. We should be figuring out what we expect of people. We've got a great opportunity to give credit when due, and who knows what best use we can make of different people's ability when driving change as opposed to doing normal standard work. So this is the first, a kata, if you like. JR is a kata. Here's the kata around there. JR is a kata that's going to drive the development of a behaviour in one's mind, which will help link and drive improvement in an organisation. The second one, probably the best known pattern, if you like, pattern of mind driven by TWI, is the way you instruct, the way you teach standard work, being job instruction. Quite often in organisations, I hear, we need standard work. Or I hear, we need to train people. I usually challenge that, nearly always challenge that and say you don't need standard work, you don't need to train people. What you actually need, those two above are just part of the big picture. What you need is standardised work. Standardised work. What you need is standardised work. Standardised work not being the pile of paper on someone's desk, which is standard work, or the procedures, whatever they may be. We need standardised work, which is everyone on the factory floor doing it the best way. We know how today. This will be an important pattern that's required, an important way of thinking in the application of the improvement Kata and the improvement Kata, because we'll either be changing standardised work through improvement, or we'll be standardising it as part of the improvement process. So either way, JI is a very, very important part of the whole endeavours of driving improvement. And please, one of the things that I find, people tend to see the JI pattern as just those 4 steps down there. Not the case. The JI pattern is just as important and starts on the get ready side. The JI pattern, number 1, make a plan. Number 2, set your recipe. Determine your recipe. The JIB is your recipe. Now, doing is really down there, isn't it? Get everything ready, arrange the work site, prepare the worker, present the operation, try out performance. That's the doing. And then at the bottom there we've got 4, follow up. Now I said at the start, 10 or 15 minutes ago, that these 4 habits or 4 behaviours have a common base, and that is PDCA. On the previous slide, JR, we could see PDCA there. PDCA is here. On the JI side, we can see PDCA happening down here. The common base. The third behaviour, the third habit we want to try and develop in our leaders' minds is the way we do Kaizen. That being job methods. In the TWI world, we bring in job methods. The key to job methods: list every detail, question every detail. The key tenet of this, key part of it if you like, is the 6 questions there. Why is it necessary? What is its purpose? What we often find through that is, if it's not necessary or there is no purpose, we can eliminate it. But once it's proved its worth through those 2 questions, then where should it be done? When should it be done? Who's the best qualified to do it? And how is the best way? We don't start down here, which is so often the case, without questioning the one above. So JM being the third pattern of behaviour that we want, a third pattern of way of thinking we want to embed, and we need to embed as part of the whole. The 4th pattern developed through Kata is that of the coaching Kata, and where this fits in within the improvement Kata. Let's quickly detail that. The improvement Kata. So in the improvement Kata, first thing we do is we set a challenge. The second thing we do is we understand the current condition And we understand that just enough, no more, just enough to set our first target condition. Any understanding more than that is waste. So we understand the current condition just enough to set our first target condition. Each of those crosses as an obstacle. We then P, D, C, A towards the target condition by removing each of these obstacles. Question becomes, how do we PDCA? The answer is we use the coaching kata, the pattern of the coaching kata, the behavior that we want, the questioning behavior that we want. The questioning behavior that we want whenever we're driving improvement through the in step 4 of the improvement kata being PDCA. Briefly, let's go through that. So what's the target condition? This is the questioning behavior, the kata, the pattern. What's the target condition? What's the actual condition now? We reflect, and the key part here is we ask, what did we learn? Then we consider our obstacles and we pick one obstacle. Based on what we've learned and that one obstacle, we then determine our next step and we ask the key question, when can we see what we've learned from this? So there's the kata, there's the pattern, if you like. That's the behavioural, the pattern of thinking we want to embed in the leader's mind of how to drive PDCA. What's the target condition? What's our condition now? What have we just learned? Okay, what obstacles do we need to address next? Given that, what's our next step and when can we see what we have learned? By adopting that questioning pattern actually makes this wheel, if you want to think of it that way, spin. Making that turn, making this wheel turn, drives us forward. So this is the way we move forward towards our target condition. We move forward towards our target condition through that pattern. With thanks to Bill Costantino, I just want to add a picture in here that can describe this a little further. I'll just make that a little bigger. Different way of representing the same thing. Might see it help to visually see it 2 different ways. Current condition is here with the eye right there. Our target condition we've got on the right hand side, just here. How do we PDCA through? We get to that first obstacle, which is this one right there, and then we apply the same set of questions, the same pattern of thinking. What's our target condition? What's the actual condition now? By doing that, we remove that obstacle. Then we get to this one, remove that. So the questioning pattern, the way of moving forward, takes us through that dark green channel and eventually gets us through our target condition. We do that by the application of the improvement kata. So they're the 4 patterns of behavior. Now, let's have a look at the way they fit together. This diagram is the improvement kata as a whole, represented slightly differently as this same concept as the same page. The improvement kata as the previous page, represented slightly differently. There's the challenge, there's the current condition, there's our next target condition. Here's where we remove obstacles. Now what I'd like to pose to you is this, is when you're working in an environment, as we're doing here, when we're working in this environment, our success, I believe, and my experience where I've practiced this and got others to practice it, has shown a significant difference, is we need to practice that environment with the support of the job relations foundations. In other words, almost blanket that environment, coax that environment with the job relations foundations. Imagine how important when you're driving improvement in this way, whether you're using improvement kata or it doesn't really matter, any way you're driving improvement. Imagine the importance of telling people in advance about changes that will affect them and telling them why and tell them why in advance. Wouldn't that be an important thing for you to do when you're driving improvement? And then what about letting each worker know how he or she is doing? Particularly figure out what you expect of the person. I see that so often, not only in driving improvement, but in just day-to-day work, where the people who are on the receiving end don't truly understand what's expected of them. And then when they don't do what's expected, people wonder why. So let's imagine through the application of the foundations, we've told people in advance, we've let each know. And through that, we give credit when due. And who knows, right at the top, perhaps through driving improvement, we might be able to make best use of someone's ability. So my experience with the foundations, when applied, very much strengthened the improvement Kata environment. And way they fit together. So firstly, job relations fits in there, as I've circled. The second place where we continually see them fitting together is down here, number 4, when we address obstacles. Obviously, all organisations are different, but by nature we don't see much variation in the type of problems by nature or obstacles that people are removing. We find that the obstacles tend to fall into 3 categories. One is people type obstacles, results through people. One is productivity type obstacles, decreasing cycle time, for example. Stability of standardized work is a third. We find roughly 80-20 rule that 80% of your obstacles can fit into one of those 3 categories. So therefore, we need obstacle removing patterns. Now you can probably see where this is going. JR is our obstacle removing pattern there. JM, list every detail, question every detail, sits there. And JI for stability of standardized work. So I refer to these 3 as obstacle removing patterns. Obstacle removing patterns. So I refer to these 3 as obstacle removing patterns. Patterns that can help you remove obstacles. Removing obstacles get you closer to our next target condition. All right, we're drawing towards a close. I'd like to thank Patrick Grout for this slide. I'm not sure if he's tuned into this. If you are, Patrick, thank you. So at the summit in San Antonio in May, the US TWI summit, Patrick presented a number of slides where these symbols, or these coloured templates, if you like, were listed on his slides, and it made me think a lot about, and actually triggered the topic for this webinar, and triggered and just helped me cement in my mind how closely linked these 4 katas, these patterns of behaviour, are with each other. So the first one, the way we move forward, I said that was the coaching kata. The coaching kata is the way we move forward, being in step 4 of the improvement kata. The yellow one, the way to handle people. You've probably realised that's job relations, the way we handle people, job relations. The way we do Kaizen is job methods. And the way we teach jobs is job instruction. As I said, we showed in that previous slide, job relations has a strong feed, the foundations has a strong feed in with the coaching and improvement katas. And then through the coaching katas, we might draw on this tool of job relations, of this tool of job methods. Through the coaching kata, as per the previous slide, we draw on those obstacle removing patterns, as I like to call them. What are we driving for with this? Through the building of these patterns, the practicing of these katas and the building of these patterns, we want to follow. We want patterns that through each kata come to represent normal leaders' behaviour. We want patterns that through each kata, each kata, patterns that through each kata come to represent come to represent normal leader behaviours. Patterns that through each kata come to represent normal leader behaviours. We wanted to imagine if you yourself as a leader or leaders in your organisation had these 4 patterns well developed in their mind such that they almost were innate. My belief is if that was the case, if that was the case, then you'd be flying through your improvement kata, being 1, 2, 3, 4 there. All right, we're very close to the end. Where can I learn more and when? A couple of ways you can do this. One is there's the TWI and Kata Summit in Europe. That is in Hamburg on November 29, 30 and December 1. Then we have a similar event in the USA, TWI and Kata Summit, now combined for the first time, I believe, Dwayne.
Yes.
And that is in San Diego. San Diego on February 20, 21 and 22, obviously 2017. If you want some more information sooner than that, Dwayne will open for questions shortly, but please feel free, you can email me. My email address is oscar@vwaust.com. If you do email me, I assure you I'll respond, even if it's in brief to start with, within 1 to 2 days. So, Dwayne, that just about draws it to a close. Just a quick summary then. I trust through this slide here in particular, the way they fit together, you can see the link between the 4 katas, the 4 behaviours, and that what we want is ideally develop patterns that through each kata come to represent normal leaders' behaviour. They all slot together and they work in together, and it's a case of 1 and 1 and 1 making much more than 4. Thanks, Dwayne. Do you want to hand over now and see if there's any questions?
Yeah, so Oscar, it doesn't questions have come in, so thank you for sharing your email address. Yeah, perfect.
No
Leave
problem.
that up on the screen there. So as you have questions, as you kind of ponder on what you've heard and learned here, certainly feel free to contact Oscar. So Oscar, thanks for facilitating our short session here today, and thanks for really kind of leading the way as the TWI community and the Kata community kind of explore this intersection of these disciplines. So thanks for shedding some light on that. And then, as Oscar mentioned, certainly feel free to join us at the European TWI and Kata Summit taking place in Hamburg. We'll send out a link. I've already sent one through the GoToWebinar toolbar, but we'll also send a follow-up email with a link to that particular event. And then also look for an email from me here in the next 24 hours with a link to the recording of this session. So the idea of recording these sessions is it's a great opportunity for you to share with your colleagues. We know that a number of people will actually schedule a lunch and learn, and perhaps all gather in a conference or training room, and I'll share this information as a team and be able to use that as a discussion point. So Oscar, thanks for facilitating our session here and then facilitating some ongoing discussions which we know will take place.
No problem. Thanks for the opportunity.
So, yeah, until then, Oscar, I guess we'll see you in Hamburg. And
you will.
Have a great day, morning, afternoon, night,
Sleep.
whatever time zone you're in.
Okay.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.